All right, welcome to another episode of The Real Deal Women's History Month series. This is the last episode of the series, so I had to bring in someone special, someone, a great friend, a friend of the pod, one of my favorite people in the industry. But before we do that, hit my intro. Let's get it. All right. Welcome again to another great episode of The Real Deal. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Happy Easter weekend. Happy Resurrection. It was Good Friday yesterday. So I hope everyone is enjoying their holiday weekend and they're doing something special with family, friends, and things like that. But we got another great episode, Women History Month series. I've enjoyed this series. I've had a lot of great guests, a lot of great people in this industry that I respect, and just want to give them their flowers and they share their stories. It's been a really good. Just a lot of great episodes, a lot of great series, a real good series. And like I said, this is the last of this month, but we don't stop celebrating the women that are really putting in the work. It's just not just 1 month. It's, we just celebrate them each and every day of the year. But again, like I said, I had to bring someone special, so I'm not gonna keep her long. But you can follow the show on all podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Google Play, Apple, Spreaker. We're on Roku, BS3 Network, Roku channel. Download the app, download all the episodes from the BS3 Roku channel. You can follow the show. You can follow me on all social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well. So yeah, get the show, The Real Deal with Courtney Harden. If I got plenty of episodes, so if plenty of guests, you can just check it out there. But I am not going to keep her much longer. Like I said, this is a special one, the last one, and I had to bring in someone special to me, and good, just such a great friend. I have Mirin Fader, staff writer for The Ringer, author, New York Times best-selling author. I mean, she's a long-form writer, journalist, reporter, she's a little of everything. So, but I call her my good friend, Mirin Fader. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Oh, that was such a nice intro. Courtney, I feel the same about you. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful to call you my friend. And when you asked me to do this, I was so happy. So good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. And like I was saying when we were talking, we were like, it's been 3 years, and we talk all the time on off. And that's how I know our friendship has been has always it's been building, and it's so we have a close relationship, and I just know how hard you've been working. So, and all the things you got, and you got another book coming out. We're going to talk about that. So, but you're a New York Times bestseller. How does that feel? First and foremost, how does that feel to be called a New York Times best-selling author?
When people say it, I feel like there's a moment of dissociation. Are they talking about somebody else? Like, is
Yeah.
there another curly head 5 foot woman running around that has written about Giannis? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre, and I'm truly, truly so lucky. So lucky.
Yeah, and it's so deserved because if you follow Mirren and her career of just writing, I mean, one of the best writers in the industry. And I'm not just saying that because I read all your articles, and the long form and what the work you put in, on all those stories. It's the storytelling that always gets to me when it comes to your writing, and you come from such a different perspective, and you get a lot out of the whoever you're writing about, the person you're writing about. And I love that. And it's long form. And we talked about this many times on the podcast. I think you've been on this podcast 5, 6 times, maybe more. And now you were one of the first ones that was on the podcast when I first started back 6, 7 years ago.
You're my
So
first podcast.
yeah, right. So but you are one of the best writers. So if you follow, the hard work you put in. So I'm just glad to get some time with you when we can catch
Mm,
up.
Thank
So
you.
Yes,
Same.
yeah. So how have you been? I mean, besides the writing, how has everything else been for you over the past 3 years? I mean, we you dropped the Giannis book, so everyone's get the Giannis book. Please, please, please keep supporting and keep it. I see it on Barnes and Nobles all the time. I see it everywhere. I've got my copy because I was one of the special ones to get a copy before. So
Yeah.
not bragging, but I'm just saying.
It's fun.
But yeah, yeah, yes, yes. But it's no, but now talk about the what you've been up to over the last 3 years and from when that book released and now where you are today.
Like, it's so crazy to even say 3 years, right? I feel
Mhm.
like it just came out, or
Yeah.
I was in the stage of, thinking about it and trying to write my first book, and, it's just so crazy to think, as you mentioned, like, I have a second book coming out,
Mhm.
this fall. It's coming out October 15th on Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yes.
It's called Dream, and, we could talk more about that, but it's so surreal thinking about that because as you know, it was such a lifelong dream to just get a book published, and the fact
Yeah.
that I did one was just like I said, I feel so lucky, I feel so fortunate, but I've just been working really hard. I'm still at the Ringer, and so I'm just balancing everything at once, and,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm really excited for what's to come. I'm working on a lot of NBA stuff right now.
Hmm.
I've been working on a story for a couple months that is NBA centric, so that's gonna come out this spring at some point. That's a little bit different story. It takes a little bit longer. So, yeah, I've just been working. I can time is just going.
It's going, and we were just talking about the us trying to. We put so much content out. We put so many stories out. As you said, with the podcast, I love doing it. The first time traveling with the Super Bowl and did
Right,
that, and
right,
that was such a whirlwind. It's like, oh man, that was just last month. That was just a
right.
month ago. When we got selected, the network got selected, I was like, wow, and that just went so fast. And just trying to get back into just want to put more content, continue to put more content out and things like that. But as you said, it's hard to you do so much hard work, and then you're always looking for the next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? I guess we just have to enjoy what we do when we put something out and just kind of embrace it and everything else. So, and I know, like I said, you put out art, articles from the Ringer, and then you say, and on top of it, writing a book, another book. So, uh, let's get into the book. Let's. I'm gonna
Okay,
transition. Let's get right into it. But the
okay.
Hakeem Olajuwon, I think one of the greatest players ever, but doesn't get enough props and credit when it comes to the
Mhm.
public. And as you probably know, you're working with that. Why Hakeem Olajuwon first, and how does that compare with him and Giannis? Who it seem like there's a lot of similarities.
Definitely, and that synergy was, like, one of the main reasons that I pursued it, and,
Hmm.
I think, like you said, he just doesn't receive the credit. I felt the same way. I felt like he is the most underrated,
Hmm.
incredible, like, modern superstar that just has
Yes.
never gotten his due, and on top of that, he is such a fascinating human being with his religion, um,
Yes.
the way that he has transformed, the goodness and the things that he does, just he exudes this regal yet humble aura. And when I was reporting the Giannis book, I found that he definitely looked up to Hakeem, and
Yeah.
um, Hakeem was a great example, and they're both Nigerian, and they're same from this their families from the same tribe, and so much of the Giannis book was not just a straight biography of Giannis, which it was, but it was also about like the international world that we see now that the
Mm,
NBA is. And I felt like if I did a biography on Hakeem Olajuwon, it would almost be like a precursor to the Giannis book in the sense of this is the first true international superstar. This is the person that blazed the trail for the Giannis's, the Embiids to come, and that story has never been told. And he's never not only not been given the credit for what an amazing player and all the things he accomplished, like you said, but hasn't really been positioned and given the credit as like, hey, you inspired a generation of international superstars. So that's kind of the central thesis of the book. It's
yeah.
both bio of him, and also, how can I show readers what this world was like when there weren't any other international players?
Yeah, and then to think it back, I was listening to one of your interviews. I think you did a couple months ago, and you were talking about doing this book, and you were saying how the similarities with Hakeem and Giannis, but more of you said getting that human side of Hakeem Olajuwon, because Hakeem Olajuwon, he didn't really share a lot either, even during his
Right,
playing days either.
right.
And then you were able to get that from him. What's one thing, not to share so much of it, but what's one thing that you
Sure.
found fascinating of all the research? We got to get into the research too. That's how we do. We dive
Oh my
deep, and I'm sure. And then I'm sure you got your binders still. And
oh
we
my
talked about.
god.
Well, remember we talked about the
My
binders.
apartment, look, as we were just talking, I was like, "Why are my books leaning to the
Yeah.
side? Like, what is going on?" And I was like, "Okay,
Right.
my
Right. Yeah.
apartment's
Yeah.
like such a mess. The binders are over there leaning, the books are
Yes.
leaning." Anyways,
Yes. The
yes.
binders is leading. But what was one fascinating thing that surprised you of when doing the research of Hakeem Olajuwon?
People, because they know the current image of him, which is this like wonderful man of peace and
Mhm.
like I said, just this regal aura, this humble. They don't, people under 30 do not realize that Hakeem was really a hothead on the floor.
Yeah.
Into fights, he was. I mean, he was not religious for a long, long, long period of time, and it was really fascinating to sort of unpack how reclaiming Islam really changed a lot for him versus
Right.
a lot of people have the misconception that he converted to Islam. He's
Mm.
never converted. He was always Muslim. He was raised with Islam, but abandoned it for many years. So I think just that misconception, he didn't convert, he just came back to his roots, and that changed everything.
Yeah, I remember him. I remember I was collecting basketball cards, and his name started as Akeem
Right,
Olajuwon.
right,
Right, right. People don't really notice that. And I remember
right,
having a basketball card
right.
being Akeem, and they changed to Hakeem with the H on it. And I was like, okay, yes, okay. And then, as you said, him on the basketball court, he was. I mean, the footwork
Mhm.
and the post moves. I mean, he was one of the best post players we've ever seen. And then we compare all the centers. Every time they do a top five list, Hakeem is either, some people put him fifth, some don't even have him in the top. I'm like, this guy was dominant over the years as a player. He's definitely in my top five for centers. He's in my top 10
Yeah.
for players, top 10, 11 for players too. And as you said, he's so underrated. So I hope when people will buy the book. When they buy the book, they get to understand, the dedication, the hard work, and what he meant, just not to the, like I said, not to the league, but just him as a person. And I know that's a big part of a lot of your writing, the human side of that, which I think is always key and always important, because they're more than just an athlete.
Yeah, I thanks for saying that. That's what I hope. I think, the goal of a profile, what I hope to do each time is like the reader should leave the profile or the book saying like I have a sense of what this person is like.
Yeah.
I think we're just in an age of such dehumanization of athletes, and there's so much going on with gambling and
Yeah.
numbers, and it's just, I feel like the human kind of storytelling is needed more than ever, because we're really forgetting that these are people. And you're hearing little trickles from players commenting about what's it like when you're a prop or this or that. And I've just never been more convinced that like I want to tell these stories about people that just happen to be amazing at sports,
Mhm.
but they're people and their stories matter.
I 100%. I was just having this conversation with someone, and we were talking about the the way even like podcasting is too, when it comes even for writing. We were talking about writing and podcasting. We were saying people like the reels, the short reels. They like that short term things, TikTok videos, things like that. So we were just saying, like, we're missing that storytelling. And when it comes
Mhm.
to even like when you're broadcasting something, or you're telling a story of a person, the long form. And my first thing came to you when I was thinking about you, when we were talking about this. I was like, well, there are writers out there that really still do long form writing. It's not a lost art. It's just more, yes, attention spans, they waver. They we want the quick news, we want the quick,
Yeah.
2-minute video and everything too. But I love long form storytelling, as you know, and you do too. You report on it, and we were just having that conversation. I was like, I know, I get it. Like, everybody wants those reels, they want 2-minute reels, and I'm trying to make that change. But I like those long form interviews. I love that because you get more out of it, just like when you're reading a story. So it's fascinating. Like I said, I was thinking about you when I was talking to someone about it. And I said, well, there are good, great writers still out there that really are doing these type of stories. And I'm always going to be an old school person. I think in that regard, I love to read. When your masterpieces come out, I read them. So yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think it's like as you were talking, I was just thinking like it's such a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we tell ourselves that we don't have the attention spans, then we won't. If we
Yeah,
tell
yeah, yeah.
ourselves that we don't want this, then we don't. And it's like
Hmm.
we're doing this to ourselves versus I just don't you think life has never been more complex? The world is a scary place. There's so much going on. Like it's just so complex. Like
Yeah.
we need in-depth reporting telling us what's going on. And you just kind of can't convey some of the world's biggest issues in 30 seconds.
No, that
On
is
your
so
favorite
true.
little podcast.
Yeah, that is so true. And like I said, I understand 2-3 hour podcasts. Yeah, they can be long, but
Right.
you can even reading. You can actually read half of a book or a story and then come back to it.
Yeah,
If it's a
exactly.
lot of information or even a podcast, like I love those 2-3 hour podcasts. I or an hour because I can if I don't listen to the whole thing at one time, I go to 15-20 minutes, come back to it, listen to another 15-20 minutes. And like I said, I get with the reels. That's the thing now. Real short term, short form, things like that. And I'm adjusting to it. I'm trying to put out, clips here and there. I get
Yeah.
that, but I like the whole thing. Like you said, I can't get the whole totality of a story in 30 seconds or a minute.
Right,
You
right.
know,
Yeah, it's funny, like, this morning, the Kim Mulkey story dropped, and so
I was
I
going to ask you about that. Yes.
I read half of it, and then we did this, because I'm on the West Coast a little earlier, and I
Yes.
was like, "Okay, I'll just finish it after." So, again, like, you can pause the profile midway through and then just I'm gonna read it after, we hang up.
Yeah, me too. And I just saw it had just released, and someone on Twitter had it, and then I said, "Oh, okay, perfect time." And I knew you were coming on, so I was going to ask you in
Yeah,
that regard. So, but we'll transition to that in a minute. But I wanted to get back one more with Hakeem, the research
sure.
of it. I know this is something that this is dear to you. The research of it. How long did it take? Did you start right after Giannis's book? Right when after promoting it, and then how many interviews did you do for this? All those things. Just give me the nitty gritty on
Yeah.
everything on this. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like, I remember, like, going on my tour for Giannis, and I go
Mhm.
like that because it was, COVID and we couldn't travel, so
Yeah.
it was all virtual, but, the last question everybody asks is, "What's next for you? What's the next book?" And I'm just, like, floored at this question because I'm like, "What's next is a giant nap,"
Yeah.
I don't
Yes.
know what book, but it really like planted a seed in me. I was like, okay, shoot, like what is next? And so I think so it came out August 2021. I remember by like winter break, like December, which again, no break, but like how I think of things in winter break, is when I began like writing the proposal. And so I got the deal in early 2022. So a couple months after, not that long after.
Mhm.
And I was off and running again. So I had about 18 months for the project, maybe
Okay.
19 months, which is a welcome change from the first book, which I only had 1 year. I interviewed over 260 people,
Okay.
which is the most I've ever interviewed. Giannis,
Yeah.
221. And this one was different in the sense of like, yes, lots of interviewing, same stuff, but it was more archival in the sense of
Mhm.
we're trying to find newspapers from 1979, 1980. And it's a very different chase than, a modern day superstar where your
Mhm.
sources are podcasts or this or that. So it was fascinating for me as like a nerd to just, okay, let's go find the Houston Chronicle archives of 1981 and
Mhm.
um, yeah, so it just required so much more, like, historical research. So
Okay.
I enjoyed that.
Okay, and it was a little bit different from the Giannis kind
Yeah,
of research, and that, like you said, we were in a pandemic
right.
during that time. So, but were you able now with the Hakeem book over the last year and a half? Were you able to travel and again? I remember you put out a tweet. You were saying, "Hey, is anybody that knows Hakeem or have articles or have something?" I remember you put this tweet. I think
Yeah,
you put this tweet out a couple of years ago, or a year ago or two, and you were like, "Does anybody have like articles, maybe Sports Illustrated or some
right.
type of magazines for the research?" Were you able to do that and travel over the last year to get portions of the book?
Yeah, I definitely did travel a lot, which was so nice. I feel like I'm getting my life back,
Yeah.
because so much of, what I did before was on the move, and it felt nice to, like, do that again. Um, and the way there's so much, like, primary, articles and research that people just kept for decades. Like, it's
Hmm.
crazy. A lot of his early coaches that I talked to, are in their 80s now, and they saved articles from like 1978. So it was so lucky that people saved some of these articles. So I love that. I nerd out over stuff like
Yeah.
me. That's fun. Like you
Yeah.
said, the binders. That's my
Yeah. Yes. I recall you talking about your binders of just pages on pages. Do you ever go back and read some of the notes you've taken? I
no.
mean, no.
I need like, when it's done, it's
Right.
done.
Yeah.
That's why when Milwaukee won a championship, which again, I was really lucky, but at the same time, I was like, "Oh my god, no, I have to go back to this and write a new thing for the paperback." Like, when I'm done with something, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I don't go back. I don't think about, like, it takes so much out of you, and I'm on to the
Mhm.
next. Like, I don't want to think about it. So it was really hard for me to go back into Giannis world and like write the new epilogue chapter, but I did. So if you get the paperback, just know that I spent a lot of time going back in my notes trying to write that.
Yes, yes, yes. Like I told you, I've seen the paperback, and then once you get that paperback, there's usually like an epilogue or a couple more chapters or anything like that. And you're probably thinking, okay, I worked on this book 3 years ago, and now I have to go
Yeah,
back
I
into
was
my
done.
notes and get more details with it too. So, oh my goodness, I'm looking forward to this dream book. I really am. I'm excited because, like I said, I've loved Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
Just watching him when he won those championships. I can't wait to hear about those stories. Were you able, okay, for the championship run, were you able to get like some of his teammates like Kenny Smith and anything, not to give so much up, but like you said, was
Yeah.
any other of his teammates were more forthcoming?
Yeah, I was, and it was really cool because I think it's more interesting to talk to players when they're retired. They're so much more candid.
Yes.
And you forget, some of these men are in their 50s, 60s. It's just
Mhm.
it's very funny, and it reminds me of, like, talking to these guys now versus reading some of their quotes back at the time was funny reading back to them some of their quotes, like, that they said in '94. They're like, "I said that?" And I was like, "Yes, I said
You
that."
said that, yeah. You said that 30 years ago. You did say
Yeah.
it. Don't forget.
Memory is a tricky thing, and that's why I think, like, biographies are so cool because it's an imperfect medium, right? It's
Mhm.
I remember, I thought, I said are 3 different things,
Yeah.
and the person who is, the journalist, the collector of all this information has to sift through imperfect memory,
Mhm.
aging, decline. I mean, I had a lot of people I interviewed pass away actually after I interviewed them, which was really,
Mhm.
really sad. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to be really a great. It was just good for me. It was just good for me to challenge myself
Mm.
with a subject not from my era, right? Like, I was born in
Right.
'91, so he was dream shaking when I was 3 years.
Yeah, right.
So I
Yes, yes,
for me, I learned a lot. I learned a lot.
yes. So you said 91. So I was 12, 13, 13, 12 years old. I was born in 79. So I was 12 years old. So learning basketball and playing and then just watching it at that time at 12. So yeah, he was dream taker when I was when he won his championships in 90. Jordan retired 94. Yeah,
Yeah.
94, 95.
Yeah.
So yeah, around that time, yes, I was high school, like middle high school when
Right.
that was going on. So yeah, I actually got to witness and see all of that too. So
Wow.
I'm very fascinated of, because you said there hasn't been a lot of stories on Elijah Wan, not his totality of his life. So I'm very excited. I was so glad to when you announced that, like, okay, yes, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
you
I hope
know,
it's good.
it will definitely will be. It definitely will be. Last one on this one, because I wanted to ask you, what have you learned for yourself as a writer, um, from when you released Giannis's book in
Mhm.
2021 to today?
Man, I have a lot of room to grow. Like, I have a lot of things that I see in myself that I want to be better at. When you publish a book, everyone sort of treats you like a finished product, and
Mm,
it's kind of hard because you're like, "No, I see weaknesses in myself." So I think I just learned that, there's a lot ahead of me. Um, I also learned, you can do hard things. Like, you can okay, there's a pandemic, there's everything against you can't go to Greece, figure it out, write a book,
yeah.
do it in a year. Second book, people say the second book is always the hardest because the sophomore slump or whatever. And
Mm,
um,
yeah.
so, a lot of people don't do a second book because if you do the first one and it quote does well, you're afraid of doing a second one because you're afraid it won't do well. And I don't know, I've just learned that I don't think about that stuff. Like, I don't to me, I was just like, "What's my second book? I wanna do it."
Yeah.
It wasn't this, will it be as this, or will it do this, or will it be a bestseller? Like, I
The
just sort of
comparing. Mm,
yeah, like, I just sort of learned, like, that isn't what I think about. So people were like, "Wow, congratulations, you did a second book." Usually, people are too afraid to do a second book. So I don't know, I guess I'm proud that I finished it.
yeah. Yes. And you bring no you
It's
you
over.
yes, and it's over, right? And you brought up something very important about the mental of it, because as you said, like, put so much pressure on yourself. Like, your Giannis book was such a huge success. You said New York Times bestseller. I'm going to still promote that New York Times bestseller. I'm going to keep saying that. But and now you're like, okay, yeah, those feelings are real, because yeah, it's second book pressure. But you're like, I'm not thinking that. I'm gonna write the best second book I can write. And if it sells, great. If it, but as long as it's received well, and like I said, you finished it, you did all the research. I think that's such a good mentality to have on just about anything when you're doing
Yeah,
something for the second time. Because yeah, you're right. Like, I feel like we all chase, "Oh, okay, what's the next? Yeah, I did great on this, but and then we're comparing these things. It's hard not to compare, but it's more of, oh, I'm just gonna do this, and it's out there now, and I'm gonna promote it, and it's the best I could do. I think we compare when we're watching movies, compare when we're our favorite players, our favorite whatever. It's like we
mhm.
always are comparing to something else.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, it took me a minute to realize, like, "Hey, these are other people's expectations." Like, this is
Yes.
not
Yeah.
like, I never said I was gonna be a best I mean, nobody was more shocked than me. So, to do it once was like, "I'm sorry, is there a typo?" And then to even think to have it twice is like, I don't even so to me, it's like, what other people think about me, whatever people think I can achieve, like, these are other people's expectations, and
Yeah.
that's just not healthy for me to ruminate on.
Right. Okay, exactly. Yeah, that's the health part of it too, the mental of it. Because like, if we racked our brain around what people thought about what we do, well, I mean, we enjoy the admiration, the love, and things like that, but in the respect, but it's more the negativity. If that seeps in, then we're second guessing. It's like, should I do this? Should I even release this? Should I, so
Yeah,
that's not healthy at all. And it delays the other thing. Then you might talk yourself out of, I'm not going to release this book.
yeah, I just wanna
Yeah.
do good work.
Yeah.
I just wanna do good work, so
And,
that's my guiding principle. I just wanna do good work.
yeah.
That's
And
all I'm
you,
saying.
and you do, and you are definitely, and you definitely do. Uh, all every time, every single time, you do tremendous work. Let's talk about the some of our some. Let's talk. Let's go. I want to talk a little NBA with you
Okay.
and everything, and see that we got to get this Kim Mulkey thing. I definitely want to get your opinion on that as a writer. And author. Let's start a little NBA. What's fascinated you so far in this NBA season, which has been a lot of tops and turns. There's been so many, things going on. Is this the end of the era of Steph Curry, LeBron, and KD? We have that. Those guys are like at the bottom of the West. Uh, who would have thought they might not even none of them might make the playoffs this so far? But what's fascinated you so far? Some storylines, a couple storylines that you paid attention to.
I mean, I really think I can't get over like what LeBron is doing at his
Yeah,
like I think
true.
we're so desensitized because of all the reasons we talked about earlier about the way we, receive information, but like it's really insane for somebody of his age to do what he's doing and like have like you think you get older, you get slower, and it's just like
Mhm.
what he's doing is insane. Like I think that's what I think every time. I'm just like, this is insane. And that to me is the biggest storyline for me personally. I just think we don't recognize these incredible feats in front of us because we like overuse the word incredible and overuse historic and overuse greatness. But like for what he's doing is seriously greatness.
Yeah.
Like it's in I can't get over it. It's just it's mind-bending.
Yeah.
Um, I really well, actually, I can't tell you what the next one is because that ruins my next story. But there's something happening in the East, and
Okay.
I'm into it, and I'm writing a story, and I think it's like really fascinating what this individual is doing. So
Hmm.
I'll leave that there.
Yes, I'm gonna try to think. I'm thinking of just the wheels are turning. Okay, the East. Okay, we already done Giannis, so we can't.
Neither confirm nor deny anything else.
No, I'm not gonna put you on the
Um,
spot. I'm just thinking. Okay, Celtics have been fascinating. I'm just trying to think of certain. I'll get back to that. I'm gonna see what Easter, but we'll see Easter conference. But you can't let that cat out of you can't let that cat out of the bag because he
no,
said
I can't.
you've been working on this for months and you don't want to. I totally get that. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna put you on the spot. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, the Celtics have been fascinating. Tatum. Geez, I'm trying to think any other Easter team. The Knicks, Jalen Brunson. He's been fascinating this year. I don't know if I'm getting warm or not, but
Confirm nor deny. I'm gonna leave
okay, leave it alone. Okay, we'll leave that one alone. But you're right. LeBron, going back to LeBron and what he's doing at the age of 39 is tremendous. And we don't see a lot of that. He's doing it at such a high level. I mean, Tom Brady comes to mind and he did it to his mid 40s. It played at
right.
such a high level. But LeBron and what he puts his body through and those type of players. He's still one of the top players in the league, and still could make trying to lead this team to the playoffs has been really 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 great and historic.
Yeah.
And like I said, that word legend does get thrown around historically, gets thrown around, but he's a legend. He's just what he's doing is definitely unheard of, unprecedented. I would say. I totally agree. Let's go to the women's side and win the women. What do you think of this? The women's college basketball and the stories, and women's sports in general, but the stories that's just been blowing. Like it's been great to see, and the ratings and this. But Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and the names go on and on. Juju Watkins. But what do you feel like with women's sports and how it has grown so much over the last couple of years?
I mean, it's insane. Like, and I've seen the growth both as, a former player and a journalist. Like early
Yes.
in my career as a journalist, like I was specifically told, like, don't cover women, you will
Mhm.
not advance in your career. Right. And as you know, I've always covered women. I think the first podcast I ever was on was your podcast because of the Monet Davis
Oh,
story.
David story. Yep.
I've always covered women. I always have. But it's definitely been a struggle to get those stories. I don't know. I just remember like being put in a box, like, oh, she can only write about women. Like it wasn't until the LaMelo story where it was like, oh, she can cover the NBA too. And I say all that to say is like covering women was not seen as cool back when I started 10 years ago. And now it is just night and day. It's amazing. Like, I'm truly never thought I would see the day when the biggest story in college basketball is a woman. Like, and I'm saying not like what we think, but by like mainstream things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest, like, to me, the fact that like I wrote a story on Carol Lawson at the beginning of the
Yeah.
season when Duke was like on the cusp but not quite there. They were like 3-3 or something. And I think the fact that, you know, Ringer accepted that story and said, yes, this is inherently interesting, even though Duke has not yet won or broken through, that to me is progress, because before, you only really got women's stories approved if they won a championship or won a gold medal. They have to, you know, I always joke, she's got to have 8 Olympic gold medals and have a sob story and do all the things to get on the cover, right?
Right.
But this is like, okay, this is interesting, like a coach trying to build up a program. And I thought the fact that we published that story was so indicative of the growth. But, you know, I personally love it, but I definitely, some of these editors that I've seen, you know, they're told me that, I'm like, remember that, you know? So I think I'm happy to see the progress. But there's so much more that can be done. There's so many times we don't see women, but the popularity is so cool. And it reminds me so much of being young and like for me, the team was super Diana Taurasi UConn era, right? Like those were my heroes. And I would slick back my hair like Taurasi with the bun. And when I see Juju Watkins at USC and I see her like perfectly slicked back in the bun and I see the young girls with the bun, I'm like, oh my God, it's like this. It reminds me of what it was like trying to look like my idol. And I see the way young girls are doing that for Juju. And it really makes my heart like warm.
As you said, you was a hooper, always a hooper, and you know you're a hooper, and always a
I need
hooper.
Kara Lawson's sweatshirt, like the
Yeah.
hooper. I was like,
Yes.
I need this.
Yeah, that was a really cool, really dope sweatshirt. And I just Carol Lawson. I mean, man, she was the baller. She was a
She's
baller,
so
and
cool.
I do, yes, and you know, you said you profiled her, and I had saw earlier this week, LaChina Robinson had brought your article back up, brought the story back up, and just saying like, if you need to learn about Carol Lawson in the program, what she's doing with this program, read Mirin's story on this, how Carol Lawson built Duke's next basketball powerhouse. Yeah, and it just shows, as you said, the growth of women's sports and the popularity. And I always say, people ask me, I've been on other people's podcasts, and they will always ask me, why is it the popularity has grown so much? And I said, and like I always say, when networks invest in women's sports, main networks, when they just the networks in general, but main networks invest, people are going to watch, people are going to read. You just have to have someone
Right.
to network it, to do that, because it's been here. Women's sports is like, it's been here for forever, for a
It's
long time.
it's insane to me. Like
Yeah.
it's again, it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like if you
Mhm.
say nobody's going to watch, then nobody will watch. If you don't give the opportunity, then the opportunities will not come. I just think of how like it's just so untapped. Like the women's game, there's so many things that there's so much money to be made. Like lashes alone, like that could get so many people deals. Like it's just
Yes.
there's so much here that people
Mhm.
don't even realize. But they're just starting to, which is
Yeah.
so cool. Like tonight, the Duke game is at 5, I think,
Yeah.
Pacific. I'm
Mhm.
like ready. It's like 9:42 right now. And I'm like,
It's early, yeah, for
I'm
you.
not playing. I have no stake in this, but I'm like,
No.
okay, Duke, UConn, like I'm ready. Like this is
Yeah.
the game.
I mean, Carol Lawson, Paige Becker. Oh, Paige Beckers. I love
Yeah.
Paige Beckers.
Yeah.
I mean, Paige Beckers before the injuries, and she's
Yeah.
getting back into her game. She was what Caitlin Clark is to. I've said this. She is what Caitlin Clark, just from a media mainstream.
Yeah.
But Paige Beckers is a baller, a hooper too, and people are finally realizing, like, oh yeah, I remember when Paige Beckers, she went it was in the final. I think
She was like
that's
the
what.
it girl. Yeah.
Yeah. They lost in the final. I think that's when South Carolina won their first,
Right.
and they beat their, and yeah, Paige Beckers was hooping like it's a baller, and then she missed the 2 years because of injury, but she's back. It's just fascinating. So many big names, so many. I love it. I've been watching the women's, me, I've been a WNBA fan forever since the beginning. With Rebecca Lobo and Swoops and Cooper, my
Yeah.
favorite player, Cooper.
Oh my God,
Women's
we
name.
raised the roof.
Yeah, raise the roof.
I just
Yes.
found my Cynthia Cooper biographies in the other room. And
Wow.
this big, it's like a short little thing, and she's on the cover. Like yeah.
Yeah, that's my
I didn't
favorite
know she
player.
was your favorite. She's,
Yeah.
oh my God, Coop.
Yes, I loved Coop. My wife loves Swoops. I mean that whole Houston, Tina Thompson, that whole Houston team. For the comments, that's just history. You talk about historic. That's
Right,
that's some history right there. That
right.
could be a good. Give you an
I
idea.
know.
That could be
What's the Kim Perot?
Kurt
She was,
Perot. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Kim Perot. She
Wow.
was the point guard. Yeah. That was the team. Man. Yes.
Well, I
That just brings
hated
me.
them. I just gotta say, because it's sparks over
Oh
here.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Lisa Leslie. Come on.
Wesley,
Yes.
Wadi
Of course.
Tamika Dixon,
Tamika Dixon. Yep.
Nikki Teasley, like,
Yeah,
oh my
well,
God, that
yeah,
was so
that
much
was
my
the
jam.
era. Yes, of course you were the yes, of course. With Sparks, and then Lisa
Yeah,
Leslie, she won those 2 championships, and then you had
right.
Candace Parker come through, and I
Yeah.
mean, just rich history of the women's game. So I'm looking forward to this Iowa game. I want to see if they can, with the whole Caitlin Clark story and how much she's putting this team on her back, and can they get past Colorado, or are they going to meet LSU? Is LSU going to
Yeah,
win today?
right.
Everybody's anticipating that matchup, but they got to get past their matchups too today too. So yeah, I'm going to be locked in too, of course. So let's talk about Angel Reese, and let's talk about this Kim Mulkey story. I haven't read the whole thing yet
Mhm.
either, but we know the lead up to it. And when I saw this, I knew you were coming on the show. I was like, this is perfect, because I'm going to talk from a journalistic side of this. When someone comes, like, okay, someone like Kim Mulkey, she had the press conference saying this was going to be a hit piece. We're going to sue for defamation and all these things, this lies, blah, blah, all these things she said. And they released it anyway. Because I thought like, okay, they might not release it, but then I'm thinking they've been working on this story for they said for 2 years. So they're going to release. I just didn't know when. They listed today when LSU's getting ready to play, the timing of it. But what was your overall take of that from a journalistic side, and just the whole thing of someone coming at a journalist like that too?
I mean, it's just so Trumpian. Like, it's so
Yeah.
it's just I heard Trump. I mean, it's just the whole MAGA crazy right wing
Mm,
crazy. It's like it's horrible. I also think it was hilarious. Like, does she think that she's intimidating the Washington Post? Like,
yeah.
not the Washington Post, like, has the best legal. Like, I just think it's just a fundamental misreading of like how profiles work. You don't just get to like publish whatever you want. It goes
Mm,
through a very serious editing, legal, all the stuff. And
right.
especially for people like the Washington Post that, write about national security and international affairs. Like,
Right.
they do this. Like, this is just, it was just funny to me that she thinks that she's scaring Washington Post when Trump literally, I mean, it's just funny. But to me, it's sad. I don't mean it's comical. I just mean it's really sad that we're just at this place in life where our most fundamental institutions of media are not just questioned, but
Mm,
completely denigrated every single
yeah.
day.
Attacked. Yeah.
Act, and it's
Hmm.
people who say things that she does that just really is a huge scar on it. And it's very sad because women's basketball has been dying to be covered. And this is what I will always say about women's sports. If you want to be covered, that means being covered. That means not just that's not just cheerleader journalism.
Everything. Yes.
Say
Yeah.
women. That
Hmm.
means when there's something wrong or people are committing wrong things or whatever, like that must be reported on. If you want to be covered, you've got to be covered. And so she should be welcoming any coverage of this game and of women, and she should let her players take the shine. And personally, that's why I loved profiling Kara because, as she said in my profile, it's not about me. Like, my time is done. I played, I did that. Now it's their time.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. I love because I definitely had wanted to get your when the piece came out. I was like, okay, this is perfect timing. Mira's coming on, so I wanted to ask you from a journalistic standpoint because of, when Kim Mulkey did her press conference. My first reaction was like, okay, what are you hiding? That was my first thing because you come at the writer, the journalist that wrote the story for the Washington Post, and you're thinking that it hasn't even been released yet. And I get it. If it was something that was some negativity, you want to get ahead of it. Okay, totally get that point of it. But what are you hiding? Like what you don't want released that they might release. So there's something was there. So that was my first reaction because the way she came off, like you said, it was almost the intimidation. It was this long 15-minute just attacking the media, attacking the post, attacking journalism. And as you said, it's come to a point where journalism is and media is such under attack. Yeah, there are a lot of bad and negativity in media, but there's the other side. There's a great side too, where stories like what you said, that you profile Carol Lawson. There's those type of stories that are still, again, that still come up and still is needed in journalism and in media. So that was my first reaction when I heard about Kim Mulkey. I was like, you're got to be hiding something. You don't want something leaked. And you know, you said the process of when you get that story, it takes a long time when you're profiling someone. You have to go through the proper channels to get it released. So the Washington Post not going to release just a story where it's always, not to use the term fake news, but they're not
Right.
going to just always release that without proper editing.
It's like I just wish people understood how this works. Like
Mm,
people have no idea how journalism works. And that to me that's just a fundamental failure of so many different levels of institutions, but um the disrespect for media, I'm sick of it. I
yeah,
really am.
me
And
too.
it doesn't even have to be in these moments where a coach is ranting like this. It's in the moments where a PR person for an NBA team ghosts you, when you're trying to write a story on
Hmm.
a random thing that has no controversy. It's when people, flake on you and then they don't respond, they don't give you a credential. There's so many things wrong with covering sports right now in terms of media relations, and they make journalism that much harder, and then they wonder why the system is the way that it is.
Mm.
um, they're both feeding it and detracting from it, and it's so frustrating. As you can tell, I'm very frustrated.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's like um, people need to realize that journalists, like, we do a service. Those of us that actually care, like, we are here to serve, we are here
Yeah.
to inform, like, we are here to do good work. We're not the enemy.
No, right. We're not the enemy. We're not that. No, that's true. And we're
Come
not the
on.
enemy. Yeah. Oh my goodness. We could have. Oh, I would love. I would love to do a podcast about just that media journalism, and you would be. I would love to do a panel on that, and just where we are today with, as you said, the frustration of getting attacked when you're trying to do a good story. It's not an attack piece. It's not a hit piece. It's a good story. And I think I had someone on earlier this month. We were talking about where journalism has come from, and from back then to what it is today, and the frustrations you said, not getting a credential, or like you said, they blow you off when you're writing a story that could, for one, can you're profiling someone. It can help them. They can tell their story, give them a platform to tell their story. But it's yeah, you just don't. I don't know. Yeah, I think we should do a whole podcast on that, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of nuggets.
Right.
We both would have some things to say
Sadly,
about
yes.
it. Just even like for like asking someone to come on the podcast. It's like, just respond, and if I'm not going to take it personal if you say no.
That's my thing. That's my thing. Like,
Yeah.
I always make fun of myself and call myself the follow-up queen because, like, here I am again, following up just again. In case you forgot, I exist and I
Yeah.
still care
Hey.
about this profile. I'm just the follow-up game, like you've just got to be on and on and on it and got to risk feeling stupid and annoying because, again, people don't treat media with respect, but we have a job to do and we've got to
Yeah.
do it.
Got to do it. Exactly. Exactly. All right. I know I kept you long. I knew we were going to go at least an hour, but I just love just talking with you. But I just got a couple more. I wanted to ask you,
Sure.
like we said, not to say what's next, but I think I asked you this question 3 years ago too. So I'm asking again. Anyone that you would want to profile that you haven't, or to write a book, who would it be? It could be on the men's side, it could
Oh,
be on the
yeah.
women's side. I think did you write do a tweet about that a story you would do would be Ben
Oh, yeah.
Simmons?
And so, yeah, that
Mm,
that is like a dream story for me,
yeah,
because I've done similar stories. I think that story is not ready to be written right now,
yeah,
but I would love to see him in 5 years and approach then, which is what I did with the Roberto Aguayo story,
yeah.
about the yips and then Greg Oden. I think,
Yes.
my dad, I love my dad. He always says stories ripen when they're ready, and I think
Mm,
the Ben Simmons story is not ripe because
yeah.
it's still going.
Yep.
But when it ripens, I hope to be there, still standing.
Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
that story, I think there's just so much going on that people have no idea. I have no idea. Um, I would love a chance to do that, but, yeah, thinking of book 3 now. So,
Yeah.
let's think
Mm.
about that.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I
That
don't
would
know.
be.
I'm just excited for more. I wanna do I think I think I'm not gonna say I've been on the hamster wheel, but I think I have been on the making a hamster wheel for myself, self-induced pressure of I gotta have the next feature. I gotta do this. I gotta do this. And it's like,
Yeah.
my editor recently said to me, like, we hired you for quality, not quantity. And
Mm,
so I think for me, just thinking about that when I'm being more selective with the stories that I choose. I'm learning to be more versatile. So I think just continuing to challenge myself with story selection, in the coming
yeah.
year, that's my goal.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see it. Ben Simmons. I could see a book on Ben Simmons and by you because of all the fascinating things we hear, rumors of his story. I mean the whole Sixers. I mean, I've seen the whole Sixers thing being here in Philly. That whole dynamic and what has happened and transpired even between from the injuries to people saying he's lazy, all
Right.
these things. I mean, we don't know what's true, what's not. So I can see you doing a book like that. I can see you doing a Caitlin Clark book in the next. I know her story's still being written, so
Yeah,
but that could be a 10-year story. That could
that'd
be
be
something.
amazing.
That would
I've
be amazing.
I've chased Caitlin, like, I've chased that story for a year and a half
Yeah.
and still chasing, but,
Oh,
that book, if I could do that, that would be so cool.
yeah, a profile of her. I know there's a lot left. There's still, as you said, there's still so much going there's so many other different uh interesting people and when I see your name and it says Mirin Fader on the store, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I can definitely know. I already know it's gonna be a great story. So yeah, I think the last time you said 3 years ago, I think you said Kyrie Irving was.
I did,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
I still think so.
yeah.
It's just gotten weird, and I don't know. It's
Yeah, that's a
weird is a mild way to put it.
yeah,
Again, I don't know. He doesn't interest me the way he used to, but that would be cool.
yeah. I mean, you could do it something on sports media,
Yeah,
just the ins and outs of journalism. That would be a profile. I would just you could just say, hey, this is my feelings, and I got some nuggets that I wanna discuss of where journalism has gone. I would be interested in that too.
that's all she wrote. Nobody hired her after that.
Right, right. Yes, yes. All she wrote. That's it. I put the pen down and that's it. I did what I said. Said what I said.
Meant
That's
every
funny.
word of it.
Well, and yes, I mean it too. So, all right. So I'm gonna end with this one. I've asked every woman that's been on this series, what does Women's History Month mean to you on a professional and personal level? You can go as long as you want, and you can go as deep as you want. And yeah, what does Women's History Month mean to you in this particular time?
I think that, to me, I'm at a really interesting age right now where I meet so many women that are younger than me, and I'm no longer the 21-year-old woman reaching out to the older women.
Mm,
And it's a very interesting thing that happens when you're the rookie and now you're not, and young women want advice from you. And it's so, you just look at them and you just know how precious and special they are, and you just want them to know that and think that, and not, take any shit and just go out and take names, and but you so get how hard it is to be them. And I think it's just been really interesting for me thinking about, you know, women and Women's History Month being on, the other end, the giver of advice. And
mm, mm,
it's sobering and it's hard because I'm still learning, like I'm still reaching out to people. But I just think people are actually looking for women now, so that is so encouraging to me. Like, I get asked, "Hey, do you know any, like, up and coming women? Like, we'd like to, have our staff have another woman writer," and that just, like, simply wasn't the case when I was in college. So, I see progress, I see growth, and I think it's so hard being a woman. I'm not gonna say I'm an optimistic person. If any of my
mm.
friends are listening, they're, like, laughing so hard right now. I'm not pessimistic. I'm just, I get, I'm sensitive, and I say all that to say, like, it can be so hard being a woman, and I wish it was easier for the next generation. I wish we were farther.
Mm,
Um, I
yeah.
I know Women's History Month is like, it's like rah rah celebrate us, but I got to be honest, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that there aren't as many women writers as I thought. The majority of women coming up now in this business are going into TV, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just thought there would be more writers by now, and more journalists, and I'm disappointed at the lack of, the numbers. They're not going up; they're going down.
Mm,
Um, so I feel motivated to change that. And so I don't know if there's a woman listening, like, I want you, I see you, like, I need you to stick with it, like, we need you. So yeah, I'm proud. Like, when people ask me, what's it like being a woman in sports, like, I have no idea how to answer it at first, because at first
yeah.
I'm like, do I want to tell you bad things, or do I want to tell you the good things and the joy? And I think it's just a mix of both. And so, I think we need to celebrate women and say, hey, this is a big moment we're in. Things are going amazingly right now, but we have so much more work to do. So much more work to do. Don't pay attention to, don't forget, don't, what I don't want is for next month in April, Caitlin Clark, everybody stops talking about her.
Mm,
Don't talk about her this month. Don't just talk about her in March Madness. Stay with her story. Think of
yeah.
her as interesting in every stage of her life. Our stories are relevant even if we don't win the championship.
Right. Right. I uh, yes, I 100% agree with that. And as I said, it's not just for this month. I want to give you the respect, the props, the admiration, all those things, each and every day, because as you said, I can't relate to being, as a man. I can't relate to. I see the things that women go through, and even from not even just social media, just in life in general. And it's heartbreaking to see. So I want to just be an advocate, or just give a platform to be able to share, what what can be done, what can be look how we can help, and all these things. So I give you the utmost admiration and love and everything too. So I really appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you from a professional and personal level, things you do, but just what I see in the background, all the hard work you put into the dedication, and I know it comes from the heart. So yeah, the respect is always there.
No, thank you. I really appreciate that. And yes, like, more than an advocate, you're a great ally. And thank you for doing this series. How cool that I got to be a part of it. This is awesome.
Yeah, I was so glad. I said, like I told you from the beginning, I said I got to get Mirin. I want to save her till the end, to the last. But I'm not. It's not the last of highlighting women in this space. But it's this was a special one because I said I know it's been a couple of years since we talked on a podcast, so it was just I was so glad that we were able to connect and
Yeah.
and do this. So everyone follow Mirin, follow all her stories. It's the stories are more than sports. It's the human side of the subject, or I should say the athlete or the person that she highlights and things like that. So masterpieces at the top of masterpieces, and then author. Get the Giannis book as well, The Improbable Rise of an NBA Champion, and the new one, Hakeem the Dream, Olajuwon the Dream, which releases in October. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to my copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know either way, I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna send you a
I got
picture.
you.
I'm gonna send you a picture anyway. So with the book, but everyone know they can follow you in your journey if they want to reach out
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to I know the tour now. I hope Philadelphia's on that tour because I will
Yes.
definitely be there to meet you and all those things.
Yes.
So
I owe
look
you like 10 cups of coffee. It's gonna happen.
yes.
Yeah, everyone can just follow me on X, I guess we call it now.
I
It's
guess
just my
so.
first and last name, Mirin Fader. More active on Instagram now. I finally joined the 21st century, as you know, and I'm on Instagram now. So
Yep.
just Mirin Fader. I think that's easier. Substack, I post all my new stories. Again, it's just
Mm,
Mirin Fader. And yes, stay tuned. Pre-orders will be available very, very soon for the book, and those are
good.
so important because they tell a publisher, they tell a bookstores that hey,
Yeah.
this is going to be in demand. You need to prepare for this. So, I don't think people realize how important pre-orders are, but I do this with my favorite authors. Like, if you love someone's work, pre-order their book for
Pre-order the
sure.
book for sure, and support and all those things. And you said get the book. I mean, like I said, pre-order Amazon, Barnes and Noble's bookstore. I mean, your local bookstore. I know you are
Yes.
you are a key
No,
component
take
of.
it back around the
Yeah,
country. I got you.
yeah, you'll probably, and the thing is, you'll probably be at a bookstore today, I'm sure.
Uh,
Uh,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
so I'm going to Barnes and Nobles today. That's one of my favorite spots.
Yes.
So about to take the train to the
Aw,
bookstore and
fun.
just and I'm gonna be there for a couple hours, just looking around, magazines, books, things like that. But Mirin, again, I appreciated this more than you know. It's just
Oh,
I love the conversation and I really enjoyed it. And yes, you are definitely on the list. Your podcast family. So you're on the list for October. So when the book
yay.
releases, I know you're gonna be doing a lot of interviews and things like that, promotion and everything. But I look forward to if you are in town in Philly with the book tour. I'm gonna be there wherever it is. I'm gonna be there so to support. So again, thank you.
Aw.
Enjoy the weekend and looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Until next time, and
Until next time. Until next time. Like I said, follow Mirin on Substack. You still got your website, and then Twitter X. I still call it Twitter.
yeah.
Instagram, which I'm active on, mostly active on Instagram too. And yeah, and the ringer, of course, the ringer. And so support the ringer as well and support Mirin's all the right. I'm looking forward to see what's next for you as well. So again, thank you again, friend. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, you have a good one.
You too.
All right, until next time, you guys be safe and God bless. All right, we did.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yes. I didn't want to cut you. I wanted to go do a quick outro and then come back on real
Yeah, I
quick.
was like, I hope I get to come back on and
No, you do. Oh yeah.
thank you for everything you said and
Yeah.